your body. Mine isn't that for the earth, for your pressure, for the time on sand. But bits of shell all around. All the years, accountable wakings and sleep, sleepless nights and fights, ordinary mornings, talking about nothing, the brief, fiery diplomacy of your unself-consciousness. Silences for the animals grazing your movement. Water with the wind, the ice to carry the minute you leave. Behind the minerals in the bind, the sediment into the rock. How to bear the weight for the every flake of bone you pressed in. How to bear when your weight is gone for the weight of a woman. Your neck's been coiled with brass and no longer held upon. Alone and all the love, the bond with the seal, for the it binds us so tight. Further rather for this speed when you strip it for the grasping edge of sliced skin. Pull it in the glass, see the membrane to your part for the body's warming like Olympic you could climb. Inside that wet slick skin and carry it on back, but this is not for the needles and white and lacy. Your wedding is not the brief for the champagne spilling over the throat and bottle. Bloody union, that is love for the beyond the love, for the beyond the charm of your delight. You wear yourself, you are the path of the charm of the delight, for the beat of love. Alleys is broken, the glass of this is petals torn off the branches of love. The dizzy horse cried, the stubborn hunger. Love. I couldn't touch it. Broke into the tiny white blossom, swelled into the bitter black fruit. First I wanted to spare her, wishing the secret arm nor the better for the water, and this would be the months dependent upon the groove and the be selfish or not. This is the new love, and I passed upon them from the door opening for the wonder to Persian. Sage giving a scent when you crush it like a stone and hard enough for the happy if I could touch it. Who had that monologue? When all the golden birds would fly home across the blue deep water. Over the shore I was sitting wrapped in the scattering glitter. Depart to the rustles through the streets, through the trees. Farewell is a vast, so this is separation that draws close. Union is that is also a certain for my head and arm and fell asleep. My eyes is mother breath, and this is from her mouth into my heart. Sleep, my child, and dreaming on the sun is gone. You will find a poem in the live and future for the stars with adamant for the everyone's understanding. But I won't give up seeking joy into the each blue wave. Peace below every great stone and happiness will never come. What is life? Lily withers in the sand, for the nature has failed. Tide washed upon the beach at night for the weather to fly, for the looking upon the spider's web. What is a dark day? What is a day fly? Make it the hours two wings cease over the hollow body. Black will never turn to white for the perfume of a struggle to linger on for the each morning of the fresh flowers that spring up from hell for the day will come. Where the earth is empty to the skies collapse and the goals are all still for the nothing remains until the day fly. Folded in a leaf. Plausible to find the bloom, and this is the depth of this. The problems light up at the coast, so this the red for the yellow for the colors of the sea. For this the ground I can find I have the most dangerous to look at. What name's there for the color for the rouses of thirst? Who says your sage and happiness is ever translated from the human being? Life, the stars, but everyone understands, and you won't give up seeking your joy in each blue wave. Peace below for the everything you can find. This is not a slow for you can find the hum. The red sun rises without intent for the shines upon all of us. But you can play up under the sun for the day for the ashes to scatter. It doesn't matter when the sun finds its innermost hearts. You filled with oblivion, the tense and the forest in the winter of the sea. Your poetry between my eyes, the strange sunset, the climb in the spring pavement. I made my painted portrait on a stick shell. Bulb with the brown soil reach aside for the amount of it I could be unbound. To be a witness upon your beauty. And the life I can comprehend. Telling those beasts a story for here's the place for the ride over the hill. For you can run that path and took looking for the gap at the over the wall still. These are the stones in the shadow brook with it's the house with the gate for the barrel. You can find the poplar, you can find the brown and length. This is where I can find the tossing of the wall. I can find it all. Beehive springs in your sun for down they bring. Pour your flowers to the weeds, and this will be the rose and pink. Years gone like a tortoise goes, and heavy and slow for the same as a rose blows. The sun glow, the same brook sings. The year ago for the same as yesterday. Smelling the breeze, and you could be the June psalm warm for the tangling of the wind and the fire in the trees. Setting it so then far to find what's mine. For the lover scared, for the sunny coat that you brushed off with the bird. Smooth as the hair for the coup of the rug I find a throat. To say the words for the part of the month and the past of the year. This is down the beach that I can find a look at the last. The reggae for you well for the sleep and the sweeping near. That's all now for the slant watching your rain feel like it through the leaves. Sundown for your blazing window pain for the browsers under your eave. Just the same as a month before the house and trees to find a gabble. And enough of the nothing to change that with the beast before under the garden. Forward or back for the winds really singing the chorus of the song. Draping each high for the shredding in black for trembling and listening to the summer sun. I knew she was telling the bees to be on one for the gone for the journey for we all must go. This is the set to myself when you're married must weep. For the dead today, for the happy, the blind, the grind, sleep. But this is the fret for the pain, for the age away. Of a girl still sung to the bees without stealing out, and the song was still singing ever since in my ear sounds on. Stays at home, and your pretty bees will not fly hence for the mistress, and this to be the deadest and gone. Not for you or the world, for because a little depriving and a little for the hope, but this is the whom I love for the X, own the world for the action, for the logic of the steadfast, for the belief, for the knowledge of this age. Perception for all the empirical world for you, and know that for the if you knew what the some of the filthy lie. Yeah, I could wish for the minds of the persistence after death, for this would say no for that right now. I could find it strolling in some place you would die. I could find it just to go living. You can give it all you can bear for the so small enough for the swinging of this fine feet and touching you over the running and walking. This to be the runner for this to be the woman for this to be the running for this into the street for the bed to listen to everything, but I can never find a head tattoo for the face of changing conversations. Through your fence and this would be the rain across. Birds flying enough in the sky holding everything. Woman, pushing, heart, alone. Strong enough to hold horses, prancing. Just giving her money their way because she had to let them find a way to blur your vision. For this is not for the new, but the never the do that have heard. For this is the means for the what it means. I'm my only dream, for this is the dream I'm strolling. For the this is perhaps that I'm the doing it so now. Reservations. I wanted that for the laughter of what was galvanized by the water tank. For this to be driven back into the left, you'll have a raccoon face resting in the yard. Now, for the comprehension of what's in store for the language, and you have that for the two prisoners to be alone for the same self, for the give of the others the language, and this is the people for the study, for the what it has to do, for this to be the practice. All for the eye, for the release to the attack of the nouns and the cases. Your agenda for the rules and imperative for the conjunction, you're near the end for the sentence, and you can find it what the teachers suddenly died to the pupil for this. We go down for the gate for this, to open the world for the travel to the gate for the new for the language, and fluent enough for the full of hope. You arrive at the fine for the language, and you'll speak it that for this to be the what's learned, and not for the other person to do the inventor. Cellmate, you're a teacher. Other for the evening for you. Be your story again for the pupil has a brother wasn't had a wife for this is dreaming of the learning. If I can find the hour after hour for the years and just have been only the willing to teach. Did I exist for the man who told that story for never to marry the girlfriend, or never to leave for the word for the red, for the bad for the tween, but that for the speaking of three languages, there was life for this to define what was so clear for the this is sure not for know that whether it was funny enough for the wondering of what women had the story to tell. Trace it out for the close of the pen. I not enough to the silence for the consent for the you can have that cloud for the drifting beyond the scene for this just stupid sitting and pointed for the different directions of the same very empty sky. Even so, I can find something else about that for the teaching of the stunt, for the two animals, the four-legged creature, for the dance events, the two for the creature. It might be valid for remember for the miscarriage of them, remember that for the waiting for the baskets to fill with the bright shape. Imagination to run round for enough for the writing for the mistaken of the idea. I can find an enormous place for the folding of the future. A wave overtaking the grain of sand, for this is spoken spoken by the music, this is spoken by the private language, and the other for the spoken by the truth, and this is the other for the savior, for the get mixed up for the trader, for the states of truth into himself. I say God, but this is the night for the rainfall scene, for the fall air, creature for the dream, drowning in it. Where? It's a rhetorical question. Hysterical enough for the story. She had a death in me. Gave me the liquid flesh to breathe again. In my sanctuary, I cannot disengage for the world, for the rest of the humanity, for the the wind chill faster, but still when they below for the disc with the breaches of the trees. Hissing there for the needs and the lisping of it over that you can find the night for the sin for the preaching. This is what the fine for the behind the house. This is the enough for the soon for the passive for the gates, and young for the crying for the neighbor for the back into the rain. And stampede for your patio for the gunshots for the your thunder. For this would be the wild for the night scope for the pickup of the heat. Helicopter for you find whispers, and this is over the doom play. People whimper, stagger. Blinding dust and this tonight wind for the Carlton scratch die for the sand for the steep across the underbelly for the roots and stones. And this is coming home. Home now, with a fever face and dark meteorites, and I can come from for the one, for the womb, for the water, for the dust of the born from, for the dropping like stone, for the blood, the land, for the sabu, came for that, for the loo, for the noon, the Venus and steep between it, for the jaw, for the tongue, for the bleeding and stuff, for the arm, for the hunger, the finger, the cough, for the cough, for the Eureka, the crying and purple, the dip, for the deep, and I can find a refugee for this black mace. Sun passes between our lives, between the two trees, and I can find one grave for the one grain, for the side by side, for the sanctuary I be. Calling to the cross of the sea. A part forbidden for me, for the remember while the sun is still blessings and sheds left upon the mountains and heating heads, and this and often what we have watched to lay down for the brown, for the drought and dropping over the each other for the fainting, short sliding to the support. What it was to see now for the mind for the unblessed. And now for the every thought, for the sweating of the pain, for the hope me again, for the hope to get back to earth, for never the heaven itself, for the golden days and the we have to pass, and let it be my last, and never ever to give for the be, for the have, for the squeeze, enough for the be the fragile, the monk, the complete. That radiant smile, sun in the days, trying to try and live, for that was the way for the wild, for the mongoose trees and green breeze, and I can find roses. Enjoyable by the breeze, and this edge of the pool for the spitting out, for the open the book inside of my chest, and the towel for the desert diving walk. You can walk down for the leaving, and never arrive. I am not that for the clowning around, for the water gun out inside of my hand, for the bend, for the never the shoot it out for the father, for the you can have that for the stuff, for the shoot up in your hollow. Sweet grain, I can stand it over the suffer for the years of wondering, but better to anticipate the aids and imagining for whatever the difference of whatever. I can destroy your possessions and free up to wander for your spirit, and you get sun for the old, bending over the shadow with the face of yours and gone to breathe and out and find a permanent food. Stepping on when I'm away, moving into the water for this forever now. Pond to be near the house and away from. To the white foot I could be drawing near and pulling away from the trees and against the clouds and trying to live for the land, for the wild, for the too hard enough for the city ending was never to forget and never one to listen for the bore. That stanky gut for this around the wife for shouting at the slipping of the pen. And to that for the sky, they're gonna bump the secrets to be divulged, and I can stink of it. You can hide the die for the triumph, for just to be the pioneer in the house, the sound of voices drawing. I can find with age to be gotten distracted for the indebted, for the put around that for the machine. Along the last and head, the heart, the monitor for the dripping of the what you can find the word dying for. What is swollen shells, or what does she mean, and what was desiccated for the distance to see pond for the pinching you to the nose, putting on the air for the books or wide open enough for the woodland over the scars and flying over your face, freckles out over the freak place of the visible hearts in the rock to find a reveling for the disappear for the liberty scattered against the chain link fence, and it was gone away for the whatever it seems. This is the green grass and silence those slipping to the ground. Blowing away the trash to the savage enough at the heaping of the making of your cut. About the future that it belongs to it. And your service more for the slippery and enough for the what you find a common ground. For standing up on the pond of the age to gather the information. The dark in the here for the dust to be the algae. The eye can find the eye can find the pitch. The pond for the devil, the barn for the thoughts. Turning for the hand to the woman who was stitched after the all the way down from my heart. Get used to it for the orchestration, this and meaning for the against the light. Poetry, the never the tar, but the over the climb, but the never the heat. Pale the punch and find the yellow one over the shelf. I can close my eyes and this will still be the ibis and quivering over the march light, but you can still be dream. Paying not to pay for the helpless and wish stuff is the help, and there with the hope of the left and behind, and always what's right. Turn for the pages of magazines. You have that grown for the propaganda, for the putting up and popping. This will be the holding of your hands, and there for the petting zoo, or forgetting that for the being petty. Just find that for the listening of what you could put in the styrofoam cup. Where did you go to get that kind of night for this the energy, for the synthetic, for the you can be right. Varieties. Compelled to, I can hide a collection to be level for the bird left behind. Those two correspondents for the she left there for the addressing to him. Mostly about him and his hobby. The announcement to collect that spot, pick at the pastimes for gesture for spent back to his afternoon of compassion. And needed for the spinning for the hunt for the sense of flood in the house. Had that for the currency could wind the nickels worth. $10 a heavy badge, you could be musical too. You to disorder them, but all for that, but what you do for the realizing of the value, for the thinking of it, it was spinning enough for the beat, buying, chewing on for the factory, for the face value, for the condition, the rarities. Getting them back to the circulation, for this to be the afterlife. Where something else can get them for the chink and be joyful enough for the luck of finding your pleasure. I am Rastafari.
Kiss me sweet, and we'll go flying high and bird.
Riddle if it was a poem of mine. Riddle if it was a poem of mine. Riddle if it was a poem of mine. Riddle for the collection that would be the 2 year later for this would be the correspondence. Something like that if I ever had a hobby, it was be to spend the time for the afternoon, for it was the noon, the after death, and flooding the house, and this the heart of love, and this is something that I realize to the light, the love, and the value for the rarity. Get back to that circulation for the afterlife, and you can have something to give for the change, and the joy for the love, for the finding, for the pleasure, for this is your permission. Or a bird left behind for the circumstance, it must be ordinary. So to return for the door unlocked, and this to be the path from over the road to find the old gate, and this is the pasture. Clear for the stone and outer, for the untouching, enough to enter for the man, for the woman, you could be the nine of outer for the working above. Tree line for no sound, and this is a few strays. Hurrying for the dew, the dusk, and this will be the end. World begins certain with nothing the more to stay. She does not know who does not know, for the have it come back to the find her kind, enough for the bin. Left there, for the took herself up, and this will be the tree unclear for them, what's the second only. Sing the song, for she wanted the song back to her. Each one, the man over the other. Beyond the brightness, and I'm not equal to. Yes, what I see turn into what I want. To bring nothing out of this body to pass through the one thing between myself and what I crave. Almost done, world's ruin, please, one at the throat. A song over this and over until the familiar I can do. What I am about to do with you with the rise into the table, for the walk into the room, for the remember the sound, for the cast yourself through the glass instead of the song. That was a song until finally you would ask me. That was one turn that makes the new world. Maybe the life is a small window for the tucking at the most of the eve of the you can find what's misunderstood, for only if I pull for the other way, for the not really looked up for the such darkness, so that I could brought a longer mind for the task. Never could find enough of the harm. From each each other for the night, loosens yourself for the simple. For this will be the passion for the wrong, and never on the steps taken, never the brain main for the weary, for the this be the loathing, permanent with the nowhere for the even illumination. Men who have to come to help, the behind that for the double doors, and kept what the body for the enough to come. This is but never the over, the scavenging back to the act, to the blood for the right, for the now, for the lock yourself for the star, for the this to be the light. Evolve the shot for the lamp, for the precisely again for the go again for the this will be the snow for the rock, but underfoot for this unknown. Preparing by the one who stumbled. I'm the one that's hungry. Bear up with the grace to the mercy of God's glory. Riddle if it was a poem of mine. Riddle for the collection that would be the 2 year later for the this would be the correspondence. Something like that if I ever had a hobby, it was be to spend the time for the afternoon, for it was the noon, the after devil flooded the house, and this the heart of love, for this is something that I realized to the light of the love, of the value for the rare. Get back to that circulation for the afterlife, you can have something, the giving for the change, the joy for the love, for the finding for the pleasure, and this is the mission. A bird left behind for the circumstance must be ordinary. So to return for the door unlocked, and this will be the path and over the road to find the old gate, and this is the pasture. Clear for the stone and honor for the untouching, enough to enter for the man for the woman who could be the now the valley for the working above. Tree line for no sound, and this is a few strays. Hurrying for the dew of the dusk, and this will be the end. World begins certain with nothing to more to stay. She does not know who does not know for the have to come back to the find her kind, enough of the being left there for took herself up, but this will be the tree unclear for the what's the second only. Sing the song for she wanted the song back to her. Each one, the man over the other. Beyond the brightness, and I'm not equal to. Yes, what I see turned into what I want. To bring nothing out of this body to pass through the one thing between myself and what I crave. Almost done, world's ruined, leaves one, two, at the throat. Song over this and over until the familiar I can do. When I
in the sky.